What's up, guys? Welcome back into Bracket Science. I'm Brandon Jadich. I thank you guys for being here. Now, if you didn't see it, Washington State beat Arizona at Arizona last night, a game that finished about 1:30 in the morning on the East Coast. Of course, we're going to talk about some of that game. Of course, I did not stay up for that game, and of course, it was an absolute barn burner of a game. We're going to talk about that game, of course, in this show. Of course, we'll go over some more important results that happened throughout the week, even looking back all the way to Monday. Remember Monday? It feels like a while ago, where Virginia scored 41 points at Virginia Tech. Yes, that happened. We did have a midweek show just with a season recap, everything preparing for March Madness. Go check that out. That's our most previous video before this one. The highlight of our show today, though, it's going to be future bets. What are some of the best last-second future bets you can place? Yes, national champion bets, Final Four bets. FanDuel and DraftKings are both offering some March Madness specials where you can bet some of the bubble teams to make or miss the NCAA tournament, along with just betting some of the teams. Of course, we'll talk about some of the Final Four bets, some of the national championship bets. And you can still bet on some regular season conference champions, so we're going to talk about a few of those, a couple odds. Odds are too good to just not take. So we're going to dive into some of that. Of course, we'll talk about some of the front runners for our Coach of the Year. We love talking about coaches on here. Some coaches are separating themselves. Kyle Smith from Washington State. He made a statement last night. He's making a great case. We'll talk about who the front runner may be. Finally, we'll preview the upcoming games of this college hoops weekend. 21 AP ranked teams are going to be in action this weekend, so we'll talk about some of the biggest matchups. Before we get into it, hit the like and subscribe button while you're here so we know that you're never behind on your college basketball knowledge. Drop some comments, say hello. While you're down there, vote in the poll today. We have a poll. The poll question of the day is, who's been the most disappointing team this season? The three options are Miami, Arkansas, USC. Then, of course, we put in other. If you click other, let us know who you think it might be. Maybe Michigan State, maybe Texas A&M. They're still kind of on the bubble. Michigan State should be in, but they were preseason number 4. Obviously, Miami, after making the Elite Eight 2 years in a row, very disappointing. Arkansas, yikes. USC, even more yikes. So let us know. Let us know who you think the most disappointing team has been so far this season. Enough of that. Let's jump right into it. Let's jump into some of the key results from the weekend. Let's start with yesterday. We're going to go way out of order here, go completely unprofessional, but we're going to start on Thursday with that Washington State and Arizona game. Washington State came in ranked 21st in the nation, Arizona 4th in the nation. Arizona hadn't lost. They hadn't lost at home all year. This is their first loss as Washington State beat them 77-74. Game started at 11 o'clock, so I didn't stay up. I bought into some of the hype that Arizona's favored by 13.5. They shouldn't lose this game, right? Absolutely wrong. Unfortunately, it was an 11 o'clock start, so not a lot of people got to watch it. That's the worst thing about the Pac-12, but I'm sure some of the West Coast people do enjoy it. But so I didn't watch the game. Saw some of the highlights. Craziness at the end where Jalen Wells for Washington State. He had a massive game, by the way. He had a 4-point play, down 3, ended up giving him the lead. He went off in this game. He had 27 points, 9 of 16 shooting, made 6 threes. This outcome means Washington State is in first in the Pac-12. They're 12-4. They were projected 10th in the Pac-12 preseason. They're probably a 5 seed right now. If they win the conference tournament, they might squeeze into a 3 or 4 seed for all we know. Kyle Smith, their coach, has done an incredible job to get Washington State back on the map. For those who don't know, obviously the Pac-12 is breaking up, but Washington State will be in the WCC next year. So this was basically like a WCC Big 12 matchup at a Big 12 venue as Arizona moving on to the Big 12. But a huge win for Washington State. Just about solidifies them as in the tournament. I don't say a lock until they could lose every game and still get in. And I think they got 4 games left in the Pac-12 if they're 12-4, and then they got obviously the Pac-12 tournament. I think if they just win one more game, no matter who it's against, they should be fine. They should be in. For Arizona, they're 11-4 now in the conference, half a game behind the 12-4 Washington State. Caleb Love, he had 27 points for Arizona. But the thing is, they're relying on him too much. We know how balanced they are. Kylan Boswell did not have a good game in this one. They have a ton of scoring. He just kind of slipped at the end, not really his fault. I mean, just went down before getting a last-second shot up. But they're just relying on him too much. Same thing we kind of saw with North Carolina in the same boat with Caleb Love. It's just kind of hear a lot of people say it's just part of the Caleb Love experience. It really is. It really is. He's a great player, tons of talent, but just interesting stuff happens on every team he plays on. This will obviously knock Arizona off the #1 line. They'll probably be down they'll move down. It's just seed line. They'll go down to 2. Let's move on to just the other game we want to mention just real quick yesterday was SMU at FAU. FAU won 80-70. FAU starting to get back on track. It's creeping up to March, and that is where they thrive in March. Just talk about SMU real quick, though. They were 47th in the net coming in. They were kind of a sneaky bubble team that actually had a chance if they were to steal one here. Then they do get USF. So, but they needed this one. I think their bubble chances might be a lost cause now. Let's rewind all the way back to Monday. Yes, it was 5 days ago. But let's talk about some of the big Monday games because we had a top 6 matchup. Remember, Houston played Iowa State. That was the second game of Big Monday, but first let's talk about the first one where Virginia went to Virginia Tech in a rivalry game and scored 41 points. 75-41, Virginia Tech won. They scored 16 points in the first half. Just ugly stuff from Tony Bennett's squad. They keep teasing everyone. They play well. They're winning games. They were up to second in the AC. They're like they might win the ACC, and now they're back to scoring 40 points a game. It's ugly. It's ugly stuff. No idea how to rank this team, how to bet this team, or anything. Talk about a big matchup they have on Saturday where, how do you bet it? No idea. We'll talk about Virginia here in a little bit. Let's move on to the top 6 matchup. It was number 6 Iowa State visiting number 2 Houston. Houston won the game 73-65. These were the top 2 teams in the Big 12. Still are. They were tied for first going into the game though. Jamal Shed, 26 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Can't say enough about this guy. Let's move through these quickly. Kansas State went to Texas. Texas won 62-56, kind of just crushing any hopes that Kansas State had of being in March. Let's move on to Tuesday. Yes, that was the UConn-Creighton day. Number 1 UConn went to number 15 Creighton and got beat 85-66. Stephen Ashworth, wow, huge game. 20 points, 5 threes, most of his points coming in the first half. Trey Alexander also played good. 16 points, 7 of 13 shooting. Baylor Shireman didn't play great for Creighton. He's their stud. He'll be in the NBA. 12 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, still solid. He's a stud. The highlight was Jason Green coming off the bench just out of nowhere. Barely played all year, was efficient. 3 of 4 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, 8 points in 16 minutes. He was a secret weapon that they were holding back. Good stuff there for Jason Green. Tristan Newton was the bright spot for UConn. 27 points, 12 rebounds at the point guard position. I'm very confident in saying he will be Big East Player of the Year, even with Tyler Kolek playing some good ball. I think it's going to be Tristan Newton. He's the best player on the best team. Even though Creighton stole one there from UConn, it was Creighton basically the entire way. Huge win for Greg McDermott's squad. They're up to a 3 seed now in our bracketology. Staying in the Big East, very bubbly game. Butler went to Villanova and got beat 62-72. Kyle Neptune's squad pick up a big win there and now have won 3 in a row. 3 wins in a row for Villanova. Starting to get back on track while Butler going the other way has now lost 3 in a row. So moving from the Big East to the Big 12, another ranked-on-ranked matchup. Number 11 Baylor went to BYU. Number 25 BYU beat them 78-71. Ali Khalifa, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 of 6 from 3. Big man. If you don't know Ali Khalifa, get to know him. He's a stud. He's the leading piece on this BYU team. Battle of Texas. TCU went to number 23 Texas Tech. Texas Tech beat them 82-81. Close the entire way. It was back and forth. I don't think it ever got side out. Maybe 3 or 4 point leads. Either way, Pop Isaacs, he led Texas Tech 19 points. Good win for Texas Tech. They're probably on the 6 line right now. TCU's probably 7 or 8 line. So both teams comfortably in. Number 19, San Diego State went to Utah State. Utah State beat them 68-63. Danny Sprinkle doing an incredible job at Utah State. They are now in sole possession of first place in the conference. Boise State is second, SDSU. San Diego State moves into third. They're only a game behind, but they are currently in third place, the national runner-up. And then the last game, it was a late night game, but it was a very close matchup where San Francisco went to number 18 St. Mary's. St. Mary's won the game 72-66, keeping their undefeated WCC conference play, keeping it going. They are the only team in college basketball who still is undefeated in conference play. Impressive season for St. Mary's. And then just some of the games we got to talk about. What are you doing? Some of the what are you doing games, you just can't do it. Pitt went to Wake Forest and Wake Forest beat them 91-58. Pitt was on the up. They were starting to win games, starting to get back in that bubble conversation. Never really in, but Wake Forest just destroyed them. This hurt Pitt's metrics, really helped Wake Forest metrics. This just about does it for Pitt. I don't think they're going to get an at-large bid nor really have a chance. They're not even in our next four out right now. Wake Forest, they were dominating this game, but it's not a quad 1 win. It's Pitt. It's just another quad 2 win. They're still stuck in gear or stuck in park at just one quad 1 win. So they got a chance. We'll talk about them in a little bit here. And then Iowa went to Michigan State and beat them 78-71. Michigan State had been rolling. They actually entered our rankings. They were at the bottom. They were like 28th or so. But this kind of moves Michigan State back into that bubble conversation. It's just like Iowa's better than their record shows. But Michigan State's still in, but they're probably in 9 seed territory right now. It's just like, you just can't win. You can't lose this game at home to Iowa, one of the bottom half Big Ten teams. Yikes, rough stuff there for Michigan State. What are you doing there? The worst one of the day was Arkansas going to Texas A&M and winning 78-71. Another quad 3 loss for Texas A&M. They now have 4 quad 3 losses. This might about seal the deal on their tournament hopes. Let's not go that far. They still got a chance. They got a lot of quad 1 wins, but it does suck when losing to Arkansas is a quad 3 loss. You won't see that in many years. But this year it is. Arkansas's been horrible, and Texas A&M just keeps losing quad 3 games. Let's move into Wednesday. Number 8 Duke went to Miami and blew them out 84-55. Miami's just a lost cause. Rough year. Maybe the most disappointing team this season. Vote in the poll below. Let's not talk about this game. It was a 29-point domination from Duke. The game we do want to talk about. Number 24 Florida went to number 13 Alabama. Alabama won the game 98-93 in overtime. I mean, just talk about offensive firepower on both sides. Now, the over-under came in at 175, and like the most popular bet out there of any sport all day was the under in that, which, I mean, it was too many points. Rough beat because it went to overtime. The under would have hit. It was 85-85 going into overtime. It's 170 points, and rough beat. Sorry for those who had that. Grant Nelson, he led Alabama 22 points. Strada added 20. Mark Sears had 17. But Walter Clayton Jr. went off for Florida. I'm very impressed with Florida. Florida is very good. We're going to talk about them in one of our future bets. Hint, hint. Florida is very good. Providence went to Xavier and beat them 79-75. Xavier needed this game. This does it for them. They're back to 500 on the season. This is a huge win for Providence, so it's a quad 1 win. They probably are back we have them as a 10 seed right now. They're back in not even in the first 4 games. We have them in the tournament. Ole Miss went to Mississippi State and got beat 71-83. Mississippi State safely in the tournament. Ole Miss trending the other direction. I don't think they're going to end up being in March. Now, number 22 Colorado State went to the Pit visiting New Mexico. Barely got beat 68-66. New Mexico kind of escaped disaster in this one. I think if they lose this, they're may be a play-in game right now. Colorado State's been playing well as of late, yet they're either 6th or 7th in the Mountain West. Don't have it pulled up. I think they're 7th actually in the Mountain West right now, believe it or not. I still have more faith in Colorado State than I do New Mexico going forward, though. Wouldn't have said that a couple weeks ago, but hey, maybe Colorado State's hot at the wrong time, but New Mexico, they won the game. They snuck it out. Big win for New Mexico there. Some more what are you doings? Got to talk about them. Number 17 Kentucky went to LSU and got beat 75-74, just as everyone's like, all right, Kentucky's figuring things out. You can't lose to LSU. LSU came in 13-12 on the year. Now, LSU did just, I mean, it was a big comeback win here for LSU, and they did just come back against South Carolina at South Carolina and beat them. So LSU's a little better than their record shows, but I mean, Kentucky, you're Kentucky. You can't lose to a 13-12 team. Bottom probably 3rd of the SEC. Ugly stuff. Illinois. Number 12 Illinois went to Penn State and should have secured a win. They were up 89-82 with 39 seconds left and the ball. 39 seconds left and the ball, and they ended up losing the game 90-89. Let's talk about Illinois for a second here. Their resume is a little bit overrated. They have a win over FAU. That was what put them on the map. That's what got them in on everyone's radar. They split the season with Northwestern. They split the season with Michigan State. They beat Nebraska by 3 in overtime at Illinois. But they came out and were a 4 seed in the bracket reveal. Now, they haven't really lost to any teams that you shouldn't lose to other than this one, Penn State. But they just lack the quality wins. Like, FAU's your best win. They're not ranked. Northwestern's not ranked. Michigan State's not ranked. Nebraska's not ranked. Now, I know it's the AP poll. The AP poll is god-awful. But the resume's not as good as you may think. Even, they'll be in the tournament, and they're a lot of people's picks. I've been seeing picks all over Twitter that they're a Final Four sleeper team. I don't think I see it, unfortunately for them. But let's move on. Another what are you doing? Number 16 Dayton goes to George Mason and loses 71-67. Dayton drops to 21-5. I'm going to go on air saying this. I think Dayton is overrated. Deron Holmes is really good. Don't get me wrong. I don't think they're one of those. I did earlier in the year, and I just bought into their hype, and I will admit I think I was wrong. I don't think Dayton is that good. Dayton really doesn't have any quality wins, but they've just stayed kind of consistent, and the A10 is up this year. I get it, but I'm not bought in on Dayton anymore. Just be so honest. Another team I'm about done with is Cincinnati. They lost at home to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State beat them 80-76. This about kills Cincinnati's chances. Oklahoma State is the last place team in the Big 12, but they have been playing better as of late. Good for Oklahoma State. Rough loss for Cincinnati. Next year, Cincinnati. I'm bought in on the program, but not this year. Notre Dame went and beat Louisville. Yes, Louisville, Notre Dame, probably the worst basketball game you can ever watch in Power Conference other than Louisville and DePaul, where Louisville actually played DePaul earlier this year and DePaul beat them. Now they lost to Notre Dame 72-50 at Louisville. Louisville was favored in this game. When's the last time Louisville's been favored in a basketball game? Kenny Payne, this is just an absolute disaster. It's what an ugly, ugly year for Louisville, and it's better than they were last year. This is just pathetic to watch. Had to throw that game in here. We're not going to talk about Fridays. The only notable game on Friday is Yale at Cornell. Really, a lot of Ivy League and MACtion tonight. Yale goes to Cornell. That's battle of first place in the Ivy League. That game's going to happen here in about an hour or so. So we're not going to talk about that. That's it for the results from the week. So next we're going to get into the Coach of the Year and Coach of the Year discussion. Then, of course, our future bets, what everyone wants to know. But first, a quick ad from eBay. The weather's starting to get warm. That means it's time for golf season. What a better way to start off golf season than with brand new golf equipment. Save up to 50% off all golf equipment with eBay. Don't miss out on this deal. Check the link in the description to get up to 50% off on golf equipment. Start off the season right. Once again, the link is in the description, in the podcast description. Check it out. Let's move into the Coach of the Year debate. And we got about 6 or 7 coaches listed here that we're just going to talk about real quick. Danny Sprinkle. For those who don't know Danny Sprinkle, he is at Utah State. Utah State, we mentioned, they are first in the Mountain West. They're 10-4 in the conference, 22-5 overall. They returned no one that averaged a point a game last year. Brought in a whole new team. First season, just doing an incredible job at Utah State. He should definitely be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. Lamont Paris from South Carolina. South Carolina, not supposed to be a elite team this year, and they got climbed all the way up to number 11 in the AP poll at their highest. They're 21-5 on the year, third in the SEC, which is one of the most competitive conferences. They're 9-4 in SEC play. Lamont Paris, he might not be at South Carolina next year. He might be moving somewhere better, like in Ohio State or in Indiana. But South Carolina, better program than Indiana and Ohio State right now. Done an incredible job. Good for Lamont Paris. Let's keep going through these. Kelvin Sampson, you have to give him some credit. 23-3 on the year. They're first in every predictive metric. They're first in the net, first at KenPom, first at Torvik. They jump from the American to the Big 12. No difference whatsoever. They're leading the Big 12. They're first in the conference. They got a huge matchup this weekend, which we're going to talk about here in a bit. But first, let's keep talking about some of these coaches. Dan Hurley, he'd probably be my vote as of right now. The pressure off of being a defending championship team coming out, still number one in the AP poll. They might drop, but 24-3 on the year. They're having a better regular season this year than they did last year. Now, last year, remember how dominant they were in the non-con, but they didn't have a good Big East run last year, and this year, I mean, they're running through the Big East like absolutely nothing. Dan Hurley, I think he's the best coach in college basketball right now, him or Bill Self, but he'd be my vote for Coach of the Year. Now, you got to throw out Matt Painter. Now, I know you're going to say it doesn't matter what Matt Painter does until March, but they're 23-3. They ran away with the Big Ten. It's just pure domination. They're second in all predictive metrics, Ken Pom, Net, and Bart Torvik. But Matt Painter, he's done an incredible job. I mean, he might have more pressure on him than Dan Hurley does. I mean, losing first round last year, it was the story of college basketball. Now, getting his team back 23-3, I mean, they're winning the Big Ten. Incredible stuff. Good for Matt Painter. Moving on to the Iowa State coach, TJ Otzelberger. They're a top 10 team. Iowa State was not supposed to be a top 10 this year. They are a much better team than their talent indicates. They're winning on the road. I know they have a great home court environment, but they're beating everyone on the road. They're beating everyone at home. This team is legit. Iowa State, one of the best defensive teams in the nation. TJ Otzelberger, one of the best jobs I've seen so far this year. And then lastly, but not least, he may be the front runner right now. My vote would be Dan Hurley, but I bet Kyle Smith is probably the front runner, especially after he put the world on notice yesterday with that win over Arizona. They beat Arizona twice this year. They also beat Arizona at home earlier in the year. He put Washington State back on the map. As we mentioned, they might end up being a 3 or 4 seed, probably a 5 seed right now, leading the Pac-12. He'll probably be, as of right now, he would probably be the coach of the year. Incredible stuff from Kyle Smith. That's it for some of our coaches to watch out for who may win Coach of the Year this year. Let us know in the comments who you think should be Coach of the Year. We'll be making a post on our Instagram, Twitter, letting everyone to discuss who they think should be Coach of the Year. Everyone has good opinions on it. Now let's move into our betting segment. We want to talk about some of the specials that are going on FanDuel, on DraftKings. Now we did some research. We labeled whether it's on DraftKings or FanDuel when we recommend some of these bets. Of course, bet responsibly. Don't just start throwing money at these bets. Most of them are plus money because they're not supposed to happen, but some of the things that may happen. So let's first just start with Duke to win the ACC. They're plus 160 right now on DraftKings. Now they are tied for first right now. North Carolina is favored. They're like minus 140. But what's the thing about North Carolina and Duke is, yes, North Carolina won the first matchup, but they have to go to Duke in the last game. I don't see them beating Duke at Duke. Duke is hot right now. They've been playing better than North Carolina as of late. North Carolina kind of stumbled after that Duke win, but if I had to pick 50-50, I would probably go with Duke to win the ACC as of right now. The only thing that they could slip up on is they do have to still go play at Wake Forest tomorrow. They play at them on Saturday. It's a big matchup. Wake Forest really needs the win. Wouldn't be surprised if Wake Forest wins that game. But even if they win that game and then Duke goes and beats North Carolina at home, then I mean, you're still tied. You're not losing anything. The odds are better, plus 160. It's better bet than North Carolina right now. Let's move in from the ACC to the Big 12. Iowa State to win the Big 12 is currently plus 330 at DraftKings. Now, Houston is my bet to win the national championship right now. I will be honest with you. I think they're the best team in college basketball right now. But Iowa State is only one game back of Houston right now in the Big 12. Houston has to go play at Baylor tomorrow. Anything can happen there. Then they do have to play Kansas for the season finale. That's at home, but it's still Kansas. You never know with Kansas. Kansas, we saw them just light them up. I would probably pick Houston to win that game, but you never know. That Baylor game is definitely a more difficult game than Kansas, being at Baylor. But Iowa State has such an easy schedule coming up. Let's talk about their remaining games. They're at home versus West Virginia. Shouldn't have any problems there. At home versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma's decent. They'll be in the tournament, but it's at home. They should win that game. At UCF, if you're going to play at someone, you probably want it to be UCF, West Virginia, or Oklahoma State. They even throw Kansas State in that equation. So they go at UCF, then they're home versus BYU. Tough game. Still should win. They'll be favored in every single one of these games. And then at Kansas State. Just mentioned, this is not a good Kansas State team this year. So they will be favored in every game that they have left. Houston at Baylor, it'll probably be a pick'em game, and then Kansas, Houston will be favored. They'll probably be favored by 4.5, but anything can happen. One game back at plus 330. That's a $5 bet to win 18 or so. That's That's pretty good odds. I would consider taking Iowa State to win the Big 12. Now let's talk about some of the DraftKings specials. As we mentioned, the Bubble Watch. DraftKings has a lot of these out. It's just many Big East teams, honestly. But let's start with Butler. Butler to make March Madness is plus 145 on DraftKings. Now Butler has lost 3 in a row. We mentioned this. They have a chance. They go at Seton Hall next. If they can pick up a win there, they still, even if they lose there, they will still have 0 losses outside of the first 2 quadrants, which is very impressive. 0 quad 3 losses, 0 quad 4 losses. At plus 145, those odds are pretty good. If they steal a win somewhere in here, like we saw them do at what would they do it at Creighton earlier in the year, and even Marquette, they got a good chance. They got a good chance to get into the tournament. Now Villanova to make March. Let's stay in the Big East. Minus 130 on DraftKings. I do fully believe Villanova is going to end up being in there. Now the rough part is they do have a tough schedule coming in, but if you lose to UConn and you lose to Marquette, so be it. It happens. But they've been playing better as of late. I think they racked up enough quality wins. Now I know they have 3 or 4. I think it's 3. Yeah, they have 3 quadrant 3 wins, but I just have that gut feeling that Villanova is going to be in there. If you're against it, I mean, it's about even money. It'd probably be about plus 110 for them to miss it. I would take them to make March, though. Wake Forest to miss March, plus 180. If they lose that game to Duke, they may be done. They would only have 1 quadrant win on the year. Now, they do have some more opportunities. They go to Virginia Tech, and then they host Clemson. Maybe win one of the 3 they get in. I think they're probably going to have to win 2 of the 3, depending on how Florida is. Their quadrant 1 win is over Florida right now. Florida's hovering around that 30 number. If Florida gets outside the top 30, they have 0 quad 1 wins. So it's kind of, I would consider it 50-50, so I'm taking the one that's plus 180, and that is Wake Forest to miss March. Now, 2 more Big East teams we're just going to talk about real quick. Providence to make March is still only minus 130. Providence has been playing great as of late. If you haven't known, they just went to Xavier and beat them. That's a quad 1 win. I fully expect Providence to be in March. And then Seton Hall to be in March is plus 100. Seton Hall has a lot of good wins. They have some questionable losses. They've been playing good as of late as well. We mentioned Butler has to go to Seton Hall. Seton Hall wins that game. This line's going to change to about minus 200. So maybe throw Butler and Seton Hall both to make March. You can't lose. They're both plus money. Out of the DraftKings specials, let's go to the long future bets, like some Final Four runs, national championship runs. My sleeper team, it was New Mexico for a while. It is not anymore. It is officially Florida. Florida's talent level can match up with anyone in the country. They should have won that game at Alabama, and they don't play a style that you would think would be matching up with Alabama. Florida to make the Final Four is currently plus 2,000 at DraftKings. That's way too low. I think Florida, talent-wise, is probably a top 15 team in the nation, as they'll probably be anywhere between a 5 and 7 seed, which is exactly what you want for your sleeper pick. Plus 2,000 to make the Final Four. Give me that. I'll take it. Another team to make the Final Four, the mid-major team, Grand Canyon, plus 7,500 on DraftKings. Just dropped down from 6,500 to 7,500 after they lost at Tarleton State yesterday. Yes, not a great loss, but Tarleton State is more talented than you think. They've been in March before. They got a lot of size. Grand Canyon on a neutral site, watch out for them. They have the talent. They have the pieces. They got the size, strength, athleticism. This team's really good at plus 7,500. That is incredible odds. I don't think you're going to find that anywhere else. That's on DraftKings right now. I would consider that. Moving in some national championship bets, Creighton plus 3,000. We just saw what they did to UConn. Now, I think I put, this is on FanDuel, by the way, not DraftKings. This one is on FanDuel at plus 3,000. Now, I kind of put Creighton and Kansas in the same category because both teams have a really good 4, and then the 5th is just kind of there. But I think Creighton's 4, everyone says Kansas has the best 1 through 4 in the country. I would argue that it's Creighton. Creighton, Baylor Shireman, I've spoken so much about him. He is an incredible player. He's their guy. He's their stud. Ryan Kalkbrenner, 7-footer, lengthy, skilled. Trey Alexander will be in the NBA. He could have went to the NBA last year, decided to stay another year. And Stephen Ashworth, he's been hitting threes like crazy. Now after that, they don't have a lot of depth. Now we talked about Mason Miller in one of the other podcasts where a lot of Creighton success depends on him. He can hit threes, got a pure lefty stroke. They got some guys coming off the bench now that they're incorporating, as we just talked about. But at plus 3,000, I would probably put them as a top 8 team right now in terms of winning the national championship. They have all the pieces. They play good defense. They play good offense. I can see Creighton ended up winning the national championship at plus 3,000. Yeah, I would jump on that. Arizona to win the national championship after losing that game to Washington State. Now plus 1,400 on FanDuel. This is the best odds you're going to get them at. I fully expect Arizona to end up being anywhere between a 2 and 3 seed is what I'm thinking. If they get into the Final Four, I've been saying this forever, the Final Four is in Phoenix. It's essentially, it's right down the road from Arizona. Arizona, I mean, they got balanced scoring. If they can figure out how to deal with the Caleb Love experience, how to dish the ball. Kylan Boswell's been struggling as of late. Get him back on track. I like to see some more skill from Omar Ballo. He was like preseason Pac-12 Player of the Year. I don't think he's that great, unfortunately. I think he's good, but there's some things I see down low. But he is a huge body. If they get the matchups that they need, Arizona squeezes into the Final Four, and then I wouldn't bet against them in the Final Four, being basically a home game. Arizona plus 1,400. Give me them. We talked a lot about how Arizona is very similar to UConn last year. Kind of struggling in the Pac-12 this year, and the Pac-12's weak, but UConn struggled in the Big East last year, and we saw what they did, just dominated, and Arizona had a great non-conference. They were up to number 1 in the nation. Arizona plus 1,400. Last one we'll talk about, Duke, plus 2,500 on DraftKings. Great odds. Duke has been playing great as of late. I was the first one to write Duke off, I will admit that, but as of right now, we mentioned on a couple of podcasts that Tyrese Proctor got hurt, and all this did was make Jared McCain. It made Jared McCain better. It made all the other pieces in that lineup better. Now Tyrese Proctor is back. They've been beating everyone badly. I just saw them destroy Miami, who's a good team on paper. Plus 2,500, that's a lot for Duke. Give me Duke plus 2,500. That's it. That's it for some of our bets. Next, we're going to dive into some of the games to watch. We already mentioned we're not going to talk about Yale at Cornell. It's happening in an hour here. We're not going to discuss it. It's going to have big implications, so tune into that. It's at 7 o'clock on ESPN+. Well, I guess by the time you're hearing this, you're not going to be able to watch that, but look at some of the highlights on that one. But first, let's get another media break. If you're like me, you have to have the best golf ball to play, but it's hard to find Pro V1s. Now you can order Pro V1s directly to your door through Amazon. Why go fight traffic and crowds when you can have Pro V1s or anything you need ordered right to your house? Everybody knows Amazon. That's because they're the leader in delivery service. So why not hop on the trend? It's easy, convenient, guaranteed, quick delivery. Stay on your couch. Use the link in the description to order Pro V1s or anything golf or, quite frankly, anything else you desire directly to your door. That's Amazon. Use the link in the description. Now let's dive into some games to watch. Saturday and Sunday. Sunday has a great slate. For those who do not know, this is a loaded Sunday slate. But let's first talk about Saturday. You're going to want to keep your YouTube TV on CBS, ESPN all day. Starting at 12 o'clock is the game of the day. This is where game day is. I think it's at Baylor. Might be interesting. Someone fact check me on that. At Baylor, but it is a CBS game, so I'm not sure. That's why I'm questioning it. Anyways, but it's number 2 Houston visiting number 11 Baylor. Houston currently favored by 3 via KenPom. So keep that in mind. Obviously, Houston's metrics are way up. I've said it before. I think Baylor's a little bit overrated, but Baylor's been really consistent in Big 12 play. I think they're number 11. That's about where I'd have them, right around that spot. I just think Houston's defense just frustrates Baylor. I've seen signs on Baylor where they can be a little bit vulnerable. I think I'll take Houston. I'm expecting this line. It'll be a pick 'em or maybe Houston minus 1.5. I'll be taking Houston in this game. I think Houston gets it done. At 2 o'clock on ESPN, number 8 Duke visits Wake Forest. Duke is favored by 1 via KenPom. Now, I mentioned I took Duke to win the ACC. If you're thinking of doing the same thing, I highly encourage you bet Wake on this game. So either way, you're winning no matter what. And even if Wake were to win this game and Duke falls out, they still have a chance to come back and win the ACC. I'll be taking Wake, excuse me, just for that sole reason. Moving on at 2 o'clock on ESPN Plus, get that subscription. Number 25 BYU at Kansas State. Kansas State's last chance to make some noise. BYU favored by 3 via KenPom. I think I'll still take BYU. That's kind of a scary number. 50-50. Would advise staying away from this game. I'd probably take BYU. They might have a little bit of a hangover game from that Baylor win, but yeah, I don't know. Kansas State's in desperation. Stay away from this game. Not sure. I'll pick BYU just for the heck of it. At 2:15 on the Big Ten Network, Iowa visits number 12 Illinois. Illinois coming off that loss, but they're still favored by 10 via KenPom. That's too many points, excuse me. Iowa just went and beat Michigan State, and Michigan State split with Illinois. Do the math. I think I'll take Iowa to cover the 10 in this game. At 3 o'clock, also on ESPN Plus, get that subscription. Cincinnati visits TCU. This is a must-win game for Cincinnati, or they are about officially eliminated, about as close as you can be to being officially eliminated if they lose this one. TCU favored by 4 via KenPom. TCU coming off that loss at Texas Tech, kind of a heartbreaker. I expect TCU to cover in this game. I'm higher on TCU than a lot of people. I think they got a lot of talent. Emmanuel Miller is great. I'm taking TCU to win this game. At 3:30, number 20 South Carolina visits Ole Miss. Ole Miss favored by 1. This game's on the SEC Network. Lamont Paris versus Chris Beard, 2 of the best coaches in the nation. I think I'm going to take Ole Miss to win this game. Believe it or not, South Carolina's been spiraling. The talent doesn't match up, and that's shown in the predictive metrics for why South Carolina was ranked like 11th in the AP poll, yet they're like 45th at KenPom, 45th in the net, something like that. Same thing can be said about Ole Miss, quite frankly, but just being at Ole Miss, I think I'll take Ole Miss. Probably stay away from this one as well. Now at 4 o'clock, we said we'd talk about this game on ESPN. Number 10, North Carolina at Virginia. One of the most interesting games you can ever bet. North Carolina has great defense. Obviously, Virginia slows down the pace a lot. The projected score is 67-63. North Carolina, just a 4-point win, hence being favored by 4 via KenPom. How do you bet Virginia? I have no idea how to bet this Virginia team. I've seen them be dominant at home, and I've seen them score 41 points at Virginia Tech. They're struggling as of late. North Carolina is also struggling as of late. Kind of a get-right game for both teams. I think North Carolina's got more talent. -4. I think Virginia wins the game, or North Carolina wins by like 15. So I'd probably lean more towards North Carolina. I'll take North Carolina to cover the 4 in this game. Fun matchup we got next, also at 4 o'clock. Number 13 Alabama at number 17 Kentucky. On CBS, Alabama favored by 2. The projected score of this game, 90-88. Wow, high scoring. I heard someone, it got leaked somewhere that the over-under was going to be like 187 in this game. Now, this one's 177 if you do 90-88. Even if it's 177, I would take the under. That is so many points. Kentucky's been playing better defense as of late. They're 77th at KenPom. Alabama's 72nd. Alabama coming off that win. I do think Kentucky steals one at home here. I'll be taking Kentucky to win the game. It's currently Alabama -2. It'll probably flip. I think it's a wrong team favored situation. Kentucky will probably be favored, but if you get in early enough, maybe you can take Kentucky at plus money. Excuse me. At 6 o'clock on ESPN, Texas visits number 9 Kansas. Kansas favored by 6, and Kansas favored by 6 at Allen Fieldhouse against a kind of disappointing Texas team this year. They're slowly in the tournament, but as like an 8 seed right now. Give me Kansas to cover 6. This line will without a doubt be bigger. Another line that will be bigger at 8 o'clock, Villanova goes to number 1 UConn. This game will be bigger than 10. They're favored by 10 right now. It's going to be bigger because, you do not want to face Dan Hurley after he just got beat by 19 on the road. It might get ugly in this game. We mentioned Villanova needs it, but wow, UConn might come out. They might go on a 20-0 run. I wouldn't be surprised to start this game. This game's on Fox if you want to check it out. Also at 8 o'clock, Texas A&M goes to number 5 Tennessee. This game has Tennessee favored by 11. Texas A&M beat them earlier in the year. I think 11's too many points. I think it's too many points. Wade Taylor seems to thrive on the road. I think they'll cover 11 points in this game. I think Tennessee might win, but Texas A&M cover 11. That feels like a lot of points. At 8:30, we highlighted this game a little bit earlier. Must-win game for both teams, basically. Butler at Seton Hall. Seton Hall favored by 3. This game's on FS2, not FS1, FS2. I'll take Seton Hall to win the game. Butler's been going down. Seton Hall's been playing better once Kadari Richmond came back. I'll take Seton Hall to cover the 3. Big Pac-12 matchup at 9 o'clock. Utah visits Colorado. This game's on the Pac-12 network, of course, so you just won't be able to watch it. Colorado favored by 4. Colorado's 13-1 at home, with that lone loss being against Arizona. For that reason, I will be taking Colorado. I think Colorado covers the 4 in this game. On Sunday, we got 3 games to talk about just quickly. 12 o'clock, number 15 Creighton goes to St. John's. This game's on CBS. Creighton favored by 3 via KenPom. Creighton, maybe a little bit of a hangover game after that domination of UConn. St. John's in desperation in trying to get an at-large bid. I'll take St. John's to... I think they steal one here. I think they win the game. This game's at, I think it's at Madison Square Garden. At 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock, the 2 games we'll talk about, both out of the American. Love that the American is playing games on Sunday now. It's very fun. Kind of puts them on a bigger spotlight. But at 12 o'clock, SMU visits USF. This game's on ESPN2. SMU is favored by 3. Now, you might think this is strange because USF is winning the conference right now. USF is currently 98th at KenPom right now. Not trying to take away from anything that they've done. Amir Abdul-Rahim's done a great job. I really like this USF team, but not all of the AAC conference schedules are the same. They're all different. USF got the benefit of it this year. They only play Memphis once, play North Texas once, FAU once, which they got them at home as well. Same with SMU. In this game, they get them at home. Those are the 5 best teams in the conference are USF, SMU, Memphis, North Texas, FAU. And USF got all of them just once, and that's kind of, it's not really on them because you think, yeah, USF's not going to be at the top. It doesn't matter if they play FAU twice. It did end up mattering because Amir Abdul-Rahim has done such a great job. With this being said, I'm still going to take SMU to cover 3, probably even win the game. Now at 2 o'clock, the other 2 teams, FAU visits Memphis. This was a highlighted game earlier in the year. We can't wait for FAU Memphis, and then Memphis just spiraled out of control. FAU's out of the rankings. Just not what we expected, but still be a fun matchup. FAU's favored by 2. This game's on ESPN. I'm taking FAU to cover. I think they're playing better as of late, and I'm still just so against Memphis right now. I do not think they're a very good basketball team. Take FAU to cover. That's it. That's our games to watch this weekend. A lot of big games, a lot of key matchups, a lot of bubbly matchups. It's what we love to talk about. Hopefully you guys got a little bit of a basis on what the lines might be and what you might want to be taking. That's going to wrap us up for today. While you're here, be sure to hit the like button before you leave. Subscribe on audio or video, whichever that is, YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We appreciate it. While you're down there, go click the poll question before you forget. Let us know who the most overrated team or most disappointing team in the nation is, who you believe that might be this year. Not talking bad on any programs, but just someone you expected to be better and they just are not. Also, give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Bracket Science with 2 S's, at Bracket Science, 2 S's. We post daily content, rankings, bracketology, schedules, results, upsets, post some locks, some bubble watch, everything you need to know come March. I encourage you, give us a follow on there, at Bracket Science, 2 S's. Thanks for being here. Everyone have a safe weekend. Take care. See you later.